I don't think so. I don't think
Something real important, isn't it?
Wow, what a read. I've not seen that one.
Oh, thank you.
Wow.
Ower,
It's a killer.
Allen.
I'd have to wear that one every day.
Oh,
Real
I'm a
important,
proponent, yes, for the bill. All right.
Okay, everybody, we're 9 minutes behind schedule and we got a lot to cover. So we're getting, I know, you're going to sit here. Yep.
You were the first one. I mean, shortly thereafter, I got I know I gotta send it to you, that's right.
Okay, clerk, when you're ready, we're going to get you to call the roll.
Senator Albritton. Here. Senator Carnley. Here. Senator Coleman. Here. Senator Gudger. Senator Hatcher. Here. Senator Hovey. Here. Senator Kelly. Senator Coleman Madison. Senator Chambliss. Here. Senator Elliott.
Here. Okay, I'm going to move around on the calendar a little, or the agenda just a little bit to get some folks out of here. We're going to start with Senator Roberts real quick. Dan, Senator Roberts, you here? This seems pretty self-explanatory and there are no public hearings on it. Could you please present SB 275? It's the second bill on your calendar, committee.
Colleagues, thank you. Probably a month and a half before we came into session, I had a group ask me to come meet with them. And they were food truck vendors, and they were talking about all the hoops and hurdles that they have to go through. And their request was, is there a way to be licensed in the area where your domain is and then travel and do your food truck elsewhere? What they tell me has to happen, they have to go take another day off work to go sit, wait to be inspected again and again. These were Jefferson and Shelby County food truck operators. So I worked with ADPH or LSA.
You're winning, Senator Hatcher.
Sorry.
I have a motion and a second. Clerk, call the long roll. Chambliss.
Senator Albritton. Senator Carnley. Senator Coleman. Senator Gudger. Senator Hatcher. Senator Hovey. Senator Kelly. Senator Coleman Madison. Senator Chambliss. Senator Elliott.
Bill receives favorable report. Thank you, Senator
Thank you,
Roberts.
Mr. Chairman. Thank you, committee.
Representative Crawford, HB 264.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. HB 264 is sort of a fix of something we did about 3 years ago with our Reservoir grant program. The way we set it up, it jeopardized our grants from the U.S. Coast Guard. So we want to redo it rather than 25 and 5, it'll be 30, then the treasurer send the money to the fund.
Representative Crawford, I'm very familiar with this bill. It did cause us a problem with the Coast Guard and Marine Police funding. You're fixing our snafu there.
That's correct.
And so I will move favorable report of Representative Crawford's bill. I have a second by Senator Hatcher. Using previous rule without objection, bill receives favorable report. Thank you very much,
Thank you
sir.
so much.
Absolutely. We're moving right along. Senator Weaver, SB 270. Members, this is the first one on your calendar.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a simple little 1-2-page bill that provides that sales and use tax levied by local law for a specific Board of Education in a county can only be levied in the area served by the Board of Education specific to the local law. So if you don't serve the children in a specific area because they're in a different school system, then you can't tax them and then spend their money in a completely different school system.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Senator Weaver, if I may,
Yes, sir.
you're jumping right in the middle of a Baldwin County Civil War. I hope you understand that.
This is a statewide bill, so.
Yes,
it would-
I know,
would apply
because
to
we have
everyone.
another bill just like it on local legislations that's not moving. And so this is an end run to get around local legislation policy. And it's an end run to try to, in my humble mind, damage I represent 70% of Baldwin County. Baldwin County has a county school-wide system until fairly recently. And then school districts and cities decided to start breaking off. That was difficult to do, and there was a lot of controversy and a lot of angst over this. They broke off, 2 of them have, and they were unhappy with the results that they had, and they were continuing, this going back for a number of years. And the local school district that broke off had a claim. They were not able to negotiate it out. They were angry with each other. And so they took it to court. And they lost in circuit court. The city did. And they lost at the appellate court. And they lost at the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court, part of the opinion was, you guys made this deal and you made it knowingly. And now you want to change it. So that was accomplished, and now we have another breaking off, or has broken off, and we have the same issue. So what we have here is an argument between 2 school districts against the greater school district. And they want to remove money from the county school district to go to the city school districts that broke off. Now, we've had this argument in Baldwin County, and we continue to have this argument in Baldwin County, and it's causing a lot of discontent, and it's causing a great deal of angst among individuals and institutions. If the state wants to jump in on this, I guess the state can jump on in this. But I'm going to represent my district. I'm going to vote no on this. I'm going to ask that everyone vote no on this. And if it gets out of committee and gets on the floor, I'm going to filibuster this as much as I possibly can. I'm going to ensure that I protect my district, because if a city wants to break off and do a school district on its own, that's perfectly their right to do. But they can't take revenue that's been set up previously under some guise or argument that, oh, we didn't know, or oh, it should be now, or something along that line. I am not going to allow my school district and the county to be pulled out of and balkanized in a way that's going to harm 70% of Baldwin County. Now, I'm strong about this. Y'all know where I am on this, and I apologize for being so obnoxious, but it just comes naturally some days. And that's where I am. So I'm going to move that we carry this over until we can work this out.
Senator Weaver, thank you for presenting this bill and stepping into this this frying pan. I will take it from here, and I know you've got somewhere to be. So thank you. I understand.
Are you okay?
Yes, ma'am. I am. But I don't like being interrupted.
Well, I didn't interrupt you.
Okay.
I had my hand up for a question before the gentlelady leaves.
Thank you, ma'am. I know you have somewhere to be. Got it. Okay. So, Senator Albritton, I appreciate where you're coming from on this piece of legislation. I am the senator from Baldwin County, the only senator that represents Baldwin County and the only one that represents all three of these school systems. And I am intimately involved with this particular issue, as you well know. In Baldwin County, we levy a tax countywide. That tax is for education.
We've had this argument, we've gone through this many times. You and I have, and others have, and the courts have. My angst is not only just a matter of what we're doing and how this is going about, but trying to do the end run around between the local legislation and making it a general law to run around what the policy and what we've done here in. That's part of my problem here, Senator, is if we're going to follow the policy of what we have in the Senate of accomplishing, that's fine. But if we try to run around, I didn't know this was coming up. I didn't know that you had this bill. I didn't know that you'd gone to another senator to carry it. I think that is inappropriate. I will fight this in every way possible. Now, you may get it out of committee, and you may even get it passed. I would suggest that you rethink that, because that is not the pattern that we should follow.
Okay, I'm going to continue with my comments, if I may. So we have a tax in Baldwin County that is levied for education purposes. 40% of it currently goes specifically to the Baldwin County Board of Education. When the local law was passed, there was only one Board of Education in Baldwin County, just one. There are now three. And so in every other circumstance statewide where such a situation occurs, the either local law is updated or it's levied under a different title, and it's automatically split among the children in the county. What we have now is taking from children in two school systems just because they happen to be in a different school system. Their parents are, I would prefer not to be interrupted again.
I understand that. I would prefer that we not have this discussion openly, but you've made this the point. All that is correct, and yet the school systems that broke away and the Baldwin County school system had this discussion, had an agreement. It was actually completed by those folks, and now it's already gone through the courts, and now we're trying to legislatively change. That's all I'm saying.
The court's decision actually said that we should legislatively change this. That's exactly what the Supreme Court said. The legislature needs to update this. And so that is the process that we're moving through right now, is moving through this process so that this tax is distributed fairly among all of the children in the county. When these two school systems split off, they had an expectation that their legislative delegation would update the statute. Most of what we do here in Montgomery is update statutes. We do that on a regular basis. Now, one thing I'd like to point out, my colleague says that this is going to harm the county school system somehow or another. That's an interesting concept, and I'd like to run through some numbers for you. I actually have them memorized, if you can believe it. When the two school systems split off, the two school systems down at the beach, and oh, by the way, there is active conversation about additional city school systems in Baldwin County as we continue to grow. And so when the two school systems split off, the asset value of the county school system went down. Okay? Does that make sense? And if you understand the foundation program and how we fund education in Alabama, when the asset value of the county went down, the number that is subtracted from the foundation program formula got smaller, which means that the county school system now gets more money than they did previously.
So
if you're a fan of education in Baldwin County, if you're a fan of
pushing the county systems onto the state dole.
If you are a fan of more education funding in your county, then you would be in favor of this bill. Since 2019 and prior to the cities splitting off, annually calculated, the Baldwin County school system is receiving $43 million more They get $43 million more in state funding than they did in 2019. Those are numbers determined by our legislative fiscal office. In order to be as fair as possible, we went back in and we looked at the calculation of what average per pupil spending is statewide and what those increases have been since 2019. Okay, because we've done good work in increasing per pupil spending in the Alabama legislature, and you may not be surprised, or you may be, to find out that we have increased per pupil spending by 27%. And so that's money the county school system was going to get anyway. And so I've subtracted that from the $43 million, that 27%. And so they're $31 million better off. $31 million better off.
Then why is the county school system so adamantly opposed
Mr.
to
Chairman,
this action?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
As Vice Chairman, I would ask that you relinquish the gavel to me and to let me help maneuver us through this emotional situation.
I think that's a good idea. Thank you.
Okay. At this point, the senator has a question.
Thank you so much. The first statement I would like to make is the same respect that I give to members of this committee and this body that I disagree with at times. I want the same respect back. That's what I'm asking. The question that I had for the gentle lady before she left was specific on Jefferson County. And I can't remember if she represents a piece of Jefferson or not. I know she does, mostly Shelby. But Jefferson County has a 1-cent sales tax. So I want to make sure, because what you all talked about was only Baldwin. Y'all should have had a local piece of legislation, not a statewide piece of legislation that impacts everybody. So my question for the gentle lady, and I guess maybe because you have all the information, maybe you can tell us how this is going to impact Jefferson and what we already have in the distribution that we've already agreed on.
Thank you, Senator. We'll come back. Senator Albritton, did you have a comment?
Only to point out that we do have a local bill dealing with this. And we're waiting, and again, my opposition has been known from the get-go on this, and my purposes on this is always there. The good senator from Baldwin County has indicated how much better off the county system would be, and yet that is contested by the county system. I've spoken personally with the superintendent. I've spoken personally with the financial director there, and they are adamantly opposed to this because of the harm that will occur. Now, what am I supposed to do on this? How am I supposed to handle this? And I am greatly offended by the point that we've tried to run around our agreed upon system in this manner. Now, how it affects y'all, that's a good question. How it affects the rest of the state is a good question. But that has no bearing on the point that all this has been argued out and continues to be fought. I just don't think we need to fight in Baldwin County here.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Elliott.
To answer your question, it does not impact Jefferson County. The bill is styled to specifically be a local implication only because of how it is crafted. You in Jefferson County and everywhere else in the state, including Lee and elsewhere, would never think to tax one system and not give them at least a portion of the revenue back. So congratulations, you do it right. But I will tell you, I've had 6 separate LSA analysts go through this legislation, and it does not impact Jefferson County in any way, shape, form, or fashion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. How can
Senator,
I put that?
Senator Coleman Madison.
Mr. Chairman, Senator Coleman and I are on the same page with this. I have 3 school systems in my district, and a couple of them trying to break away. So while you say this is, again, the discussion has really been about Baldwin County. It is a local issue. And I really have a problem when we have a local issue that we want to spread the net all over the state and bring us all into your disagreements. I won't say fight, your disagreements. It should be solved. That's one of the reasons I am for local home rule, because these are things that should be discussed and solved at the local level, not put out for everybody. There are people, some systems are doing great. We have other issues that we have to deal with that are much greater than this. But I don't think we need to tear up all how many school systems we have in the state. Actually, I've read it, and it doesn't really specify that. This needs to be a local bill. And I don't think that the timing is as such that we put this out over the whole state, not knowing the implications of what it is going to mean for our school systems. For instance, in Jefferson County, we have a representative from Birmingham that sits on the Jefferson County Board of Education that is elected. So again, I understand what you're trying to do. I hope that you all can come together to work this out, but I do believe you need to come together at home and work it out. Thank you.
Senator Coleman, did you have additional? Okay, thank you. Other discussion? Senator Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll go back to saying, again, the county school system is now $31 million better off. It does not hurt them in any way, shape, form, or fashion. The cost of splitting the 40% of 1% is around $5 million. There's still $26 million to the good. To just share
I see your point.
A small piece of the revenue
see your point.
with kids in systems that these are children.
We just don't want to be brought into it.
Yeah.
Well, the goal in bringing it this way was to give my colleagues an opportunity to do what's right without necessarily having to vote that way on the record when you do have a county school system that is not happy with the $31 million more every single year that they get and instead want $36 million. They want it all. They're sitting on a $200 million cash reserve right now. And so I was absolutely trying to figure out a way to break this logjam. For the first time since 1903, and I see my colleague out there with the County Commission Association, there is actually a discussion of splitting the county over a tiny little $5 million thing that with a school system that has a budget varying from $500 million to $750 million. I mean, there is a point where this is just starting. And just to be clear, I represent all of these systems. But fair is fair, and taking from one, to give to one. Can you imagine if you had a countywide tax and your cities didn't get any? Can you imagine not sharing one way or the other? Can you imagine if there was a countywide tax just for one city system? It was collected all over the county and wasn't shared.
I see your point, sir, but again, it says
Senator
county
Coleman.
sales tax.
Senator Coleman. Senator Albritton's next, and then I can come back to you. Senator Albritton.
I would like to point out a couple of things, if I may, in Baldwin County, that some reasoning here. Numbers have been thrown out. I would point out that the two school systems that I've broken away are in the process of building major capital projects, and they are. And they're very nice. They're exceedingly nice. That's on the south end. On the north end, there's considerations that Perdita School, which is first through, I think, 6th grade, is in the potential of closing. Now, what that means is people that live in Baldwin County and Little River will be traveling halfway across the county to Bay Minette to go to school from 1st grade on. That means they're traveling from the Monroe County line all the way down to halfway through the county. You've been to Baldwin County? It's a large county. They're traveling 40 miles by bus to go to school as 1st graders. Now, this aspect of how we have $200 million in savings, and we have $36 million and all that. Consider the size, not only of the growth, but also the geographic area that we have, and that's what I'm trying to protect. I'm trying to make sure that we are able to keep the schools open that are there, keep the kids as close to their homes and going to school as possible, rather than subsidizing those cities that are in capital constructions of major proportions.
Thank you, Senator.
And I'll renew my motion to carry over.
Thank you, Senator. We have Senator Coleman Madison who wanted a word. Then I would like to give Senator Elliott last word and then move on to the rest of the agenda. I heard somebody else say something.
I was going to call for the question, that's
Okay.
it. So
All right, so Senator Coleman Madison, Senator Elliott, and then the question.
To both the gentlemen who are my friends and I respect, I really would respectfully request that you all come together. The bills, as it is written, specifically it talks about county sales and use tax authorized by local law, not state law. I'm going to please ask you all to carry this over and take it back home and get your people together to work together. You all are both down there in that area. District lines change. The people that you may be fighting against right now, you may be representing on however, and you know how that goes. But I'm just asking that you all work together, and I believe that you can do it. If you can't do it at home, how can you do something to represent the whole state? I know that you all are better than this. Don't ask us to make this decision for you all. Because let me say this, and I tell our folks all the time, you all need to be making this decision. You don't need to have a law for us to pass. Because if you allow us to start making this decision for you, we're going to be passing a law to make another decision for you. And only you can make the decision of what is in the best interest of your people. Don't ask us to make this decision.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Elliott, then the question.
So, Senator Figures often says she is the senator for Mobile, but she is a state senator. And this, to me, is an issue of fundamental fairness. And it is an issue that I think is fundamentally unfair. I represent all three school systems, a big part of all three school systems. This bill will help all three of them. The numbers are the numbers prepared by the Legislative Fiscal Office. And so I would encourage y'all to move this bill along and let me to continue to fight my colleague, which he has indicated he will clearly do, so that we can do what is right for the children and not take from some to give to others, even though it doesn't hurt them and they benefit several times over. And so, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, there is a motion to carry over Senate Bill 270. There is a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
I am opposed, and I'll be loud about it so that the chairman can hear how loud I say no.
The bill's carried over. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I relinquish the mic to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, members. Okay. Next up, we have Senator Barfoot. You have SB 236.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the committee, this also deals with boards, but not school boards. It is mental health boards. Back some time ago, mental health boards were first created under Act 310.
I have a motion by Senator Hatcher. Got it. A second by Senator Carnley.
We actually have an amendment. Good, Mr. Chairman.
That's correct. Thank you, Senator Hatcher. I appreciate it moving along. Senator Hatcher has a motion to adopt the First Amendment that says at the top PSI 41ER-1. Is there a second to adopt the amendment?
So moved.
Is there any discussion on the amendment? Okay. Clerk, let's get a good roll on that. Call the long roll.
Senator Albritton,
I'm going to vote aye on the amendment, but I'm going to ask for some further explanations about this.
Senator Carnley,
Aye.
Senator Coleman, Senator Gudger, Senator Hatcher, Senator Hovey, Senator Kelly, Senator Coleman Madison, Senator Chambliss, Senator Elliott.
Aye. Okay. The first Hatcher amendment is adopted here. Can you give us a little bit of background on that amendment and then that we've already adopted, and then the second amendment that we have to adopt, Senator?
I can give you an explanation. I was going to introduce the amendment for him real quick. And what it says is that They want to have a probate judge and a sheriff on the board to represent, since they handle the commitments. But what it says on there is that if they're elected, they can choose not to be on the board. So it gives them the option to opt out of being on the board if they don't want to be on the board and serve unwillingly. And so that's what that amendment does.
So Senator Carnley, just to be clear, we have two different amendments here.
Yep.
Okay.
The intent was to have just one and have them all wrapped together, but there was some miscommunication, so it ended up with two.
So do we still need to adopt the second amendment?
We need to do the second one as well.
Okay, very good. So have we adopted the amendment?
The first one.
Okay, the first one. We haven't adopted the second one. So you're going to offer the second one now?
I'll offer the second one.
Okay, I have a second by Senator Hatcher. Do you want to describe that one?
I will. So what this does is this carves out the MR 310 boards. They were never intended to be included into this. It's kind of a different board, and so they didn't want to include them into this. Those are just the boards with, that's right, that's the one that's got T66-1 at the top. And then the second part is that they are allowing these boards to have virtual meetings, but they want them to be in accordance with the Alabama open meeting laws. So it allowed them to have virtual meetings in the bill, but they wanted to clarify and make sure that they abided by the Alabama Open Meetings Act. So,
okay, I've got a motion and a second. Any objection using the previous role in the amendment? Okay, we've adopted the second amendment. Any questions on the bill as amended?
Yes.
Senator Albrecht?
Yes, I'd like to get, what's the purpose of this bill? What are we doing here with our boards?
So it, under current law, if there is a 310 board that has an executive or a board over 16 members, there are many throughout the state that some I think even have 30 or 40 members, they can have an executive committee. And this would mandate that the sheriff or his appointee or the probate judge that falls within that 310 board's area would be on that executive committee. As you know, Senator, those individuals, the sheriff as being the chief law enforcement of a county, and the probate judge who handles commitment hearings, are intimately qualified to and deal with mental health issues. And so they bring something to the table when they're on the executive committee, a voice from those two different places.
So again, but the amendment the first amendment we did gave the sheriff and probate judge the ability to pull out of that or not to be a part of that.
That's correct. And I think that's an important part. I mean, I think factually that's probably what would happen anyway. We're just not indentured servitude. But if they decide that they do not want to serve on that,
Some
they
elected
have the ability.
officials believe that we are, but anyway,
that's
yeah.
right.
All right, I'm fine. Thank you.
Okay. I have a motion from Senator Carnley to give the bill a favorable report as amended. A second from Senator Hatcher. Any further discussion on the bill? Any objection using previous roll? Bill receives a favorable report. Thank you, Senator Barfoot. Is Representative Almond here? There we are. You have Senate Bill 281. Excuse me, House Bill. I'm giving you a promotion there. Sorry.
Promotion, huh?
We like to think so.
Most definitely. Thank you very much. I do have House Bill 281. This is a bill dealing with appeals from the Zoning Board of Adjustment. So we're trying to fix a problem. Currently, when someone wants to appeal a decision from the Board of Adjustment, the law says they have 15 days to file their notice of appeal, which they give to the city, but it does not prescribe a time by which they have to actually file their appeal. So the problem is that a lot of times, or sometimes, people file their notice of appeal, but they never actually file their appeal. So the city gets stuck in la-la land, I call it, and they cannot enforce the Zoning Board of Adjustment's decision because the law says they can't until that appeal is
Mr. Chairman, I move for favorable.
Let's
sorry.
public hearing if we can. And we had one of Senator Chambliss's constituents, I think, wanted to speak on this, but he's not on the sheet, but he's here. And I didn't. You may not have realized you had to sign up. So we told you could speak in a public hearing. So please come on up and say your piece. I'd love to hear from you. That's a good question. We need to move along. So
Sure. So my name is Dr. Gerald Simmons. Brief history. I'm certified in zoning and planning by University of Alabama. Spent numerous years on the Board of Zoning Adjustment for the city of Prattville, and I have disclaimer, I represent no one other than looking out for the municipality and both the constituents. So I've discussed briefly with Representative Almond before the meeting to try to come up with a compromise. This bill has come up over the past 10 years and has never been enacted. It's gotten stuck in various committees for whatever reason, and we've come up with several compromises. One is the 30 days I felt was inadequate, and I won't go into detail, but I'm willing to compromise, as she is, to change line 52 to 45 days. And the second that we are both mutually agreeable on is to change or delete on line 62 the words that it shall be tried de novo, because zoning boards are not truly de novo. You cannot raise any issue in circuit court that wasn't raised before the zoning board. So we agreed to delete that section on line 62. And the third thing that we agreed on is municipalities cost a lot of money to produce a transcript, but a transcript, for, as Senator Albritton knows, has everything about who said what to who in great detail. It goes into the discussion and the reasons for a zoning board so that they're not arbitrary and capricious when they go to court. So we agreed that to save the municipalities, something would be inserted that you would be provided as an aggrieved, because remember, aggrieved is your constituents and they're sensitive about their property rights. We agreed that the aggrieved would get a certified set of minutes, but if they desired a certified transcript because they were going to court, it would be at the appellant or the aggrieved expense, thus saving the municipality. So those were the three compromises to try to move this bill along.
Well, I think you and the representative sound like you've made some good movement, and we'll try to go ahead and move this along while y'all continue to draft those amendments. But I appreciate you speaking with her, Senator Chambliss.
Thank you for letting me speak.
And good to see you, Dr. Simmons.
Yes, thank you.
I think there's some good points that were raised, and it sounds like there's some back and forth, and I'd love to be in the middle and trying to make sure we get all of those done before we go to the floor.
Okay.
And make sure that we don't create an issue by solving an issue. So,
yes,
thank you all. And I would move for favorable report.
I have a motion.
I don't support it.
Yes, ma'am.
Just, I've seen, I'm looking at Senator Barfoot as well. I've seen some transcripts cost between $8,000 and $12,000. So I'm just, when you talk about the aggrieved person, that is probably one of our constituents that may be an aggrieved person. What we be talking about, Representative, is maybe a range of what you've seen the cost of those transcripts.
From what I've seen, having served.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Either one is fine.
So the city of I can speak only to the city of Tuscaloosa's practice. They do not provide a transcript currently. They provide the certified minutes, okay? And they don't charge anybody for that. But he was requesting that if someone wanted a certified transcript, that they should be able to get it. And so we agree. The question then is who pays for it, right? Because it is expensive. And so we agreed that it should come at the cost of the appellant and not at the cost of the city. But they are going to get a certified copy of the minutes.
Thank you, Representative. I have a motion by Senator Chambliss. Do I have a second? I have a second by Senator Coleman Madison. Is there any objection to using the previous roll on final passage?
I'm all in favor of getting this done, but we need to have some further conversations before we get in, because I like what we've been told about some matters here. Though I like circuit courts having de novo.
Yeah. So,
Representative, who's carrying your bill on the floor upstairs? Do you know?
I'm hoping Senator Chambliss will agree.
Okay.
I told her we see how today went first.
Okay. Well, there's your answer, I think, and I'll let y'all work that out. But
yes.
Where we are on time and bringing it back up in committee again. Let's see if we can move it along.
We'll get it worked out before it gets to the floor.
Okay. Any objections to using previous roll? Okay. Bill receives favorable report. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Orr. You have been lurking back there. I'm sorry. I certainly would have brought you up sooner. I didn't see you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a bill I've had before, and it's revised and revised and narrowed it down. I know there's a public hearing. I almost kind of gave up the faith. It's a simple bill. The first version was filed in response to the Justice Kavanaugh hearings where people went to his house and were demonstrating outside at all hours of the night. And I thought, how intimidating would that be? Whether you're an elected person or unelected, doesn't matter. You got family, small kids, whatever, and you've got several hundred people in that case angry at you outside your house. Perhaps we need to do something where it's not addressed in the state. There is a provision for counties or cities to do this. But
I have a motion by Senator Albritton and a second by the chairman for favorable report. Hey. There is a public hearing. We'll go to the public hearing on this.
Well, the last thing I'd like to say, and what I was leading up to, what spurred me to carry on was a Wall Street Journal article, October 9th, 2024, a Democratic congressman in Ohio, where people went to his house and for several days couldn't get in and out, had to have law enforcement to get his family in and out of his house, and just what a terribly intimidating and scary situation to be in, and we ought to do something about it.
Thank you, Senator Orton. Thank you for the reminder about the public hearing. We have Ms. Camille Bennett. Welcome.
Yes. Good afternoon. My name is Camille Bennett with Project Say Something. Alabama is the heart of the civil rights movement. Black folk in Alabama understand the necessity of exercising our First Amendment rights as a pathway to freedom and navigation through white supremacist systems. Project Say Something is headquartered in a rural city with a small downtown area. We have apartments and residential housing within an earshot of any of our protests, including parks and our local courthouse. In 2022, Project Say Something won a federal lawsuit against the city of Florence for applying noise ordinances in inconsistent and arbitrary ways and attempting to set parameters around where and how we protested. SB 2047 gives law enforcement and city officials across the state permission to do the same. Lines 50 through 52 prohibits noise amplification near a residence with the intent to harass or disturb residents. In rural areas, peaceful protests will always be near residential areas. Harassment and disturbance is subjective and left up to the discretion of the powers that be. Lines 59 through 60, SB 247 attempts to control when we protest. 30 minutes before sunrise and 30 minutes after sunset is difficult to interpret and again left up to the discretion of law enforcement. Line 61 through 63 criminalizes protests in front of businesses and characterizes blocking as an intended outcome of protesting, when in reality, it's often accidental, one that most protesters are willing to fix themselves. SB 247 is not only a bad bill, but an assault on the First Amendment rights and voices of marginalized Alabamians. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bennett. Okay, I have a motion. I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Would we like to call the long roll? No?
Well, I just wanted to bring out something in this bill. It says that it would allow municipalities or counties to also adopt ordinances and resolutions to regulate the time and noise level of any picketing or protesting in a residential area. So,
I don't see it in that's in the synopsis.
It's in the synopsis.
I don't see it in the bill. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, it is on the bill, starting on page 3, starting with line 72. Municipalities and counties by ordinance or resolution may adopt more stringent regulations to limit the time frame and noise. So basically, it's back to local governments to allow them to make that decision, and it really should be, because we live in a diverse state with rural and counties, and of course now you have downtown areas where you have lost livers and things like that. So it's going to be hard to not be in contact with some residents, but I agree that everybody wants to enjoy the peaceful and tranquility of their home.
Chairman, I know we're running out of time.
Yes, ma'am.
So just on that section that the gentlelady just mentioned, it says that they may adopt more stringent regulations. It's not that they're going to adopt the regulation themselves or this is a permissive piece of legislation. You just mentioned that, like, my daughter lives in downtown Birmingham. She lives in a loft downtown. I just don't know. And there's so many lofts downtown. So where would you actually go to have even a peaceful protest in downtown Birmingham and not be near residents? So again, it's not that it's permissive and the municipalities get a chance to set this. It says municipalities can adopt a more stringent regulation. Just wanted to make that clarification.
Yes, sir.
And I think, without a doubt, those are the pieces that concern me. I get the bill because I'd like to be able to, we're public officials. And there's a certain part of what we do, I think we kind of give up certain parts of it. But I'm concerned about some of the language here, especially line 61 through 63. And others. And so I'm just very concerned about what we do. And I think Senator Coleman Madison mentioned her suggestion about local, working this out locally might be a part of the answer here. Senator
Orr, if you'd like to address any of these concerns, I will say that from a local standpoint, from my county days, not all counties have the authority to do that now. Cities do, but counties don't necessarily. And so, Senator Orr,
And a lot of times, it can happen if you, let's say, for example, you run over a small child and the angry mob is mad at you. There's nothing on the local books because it's a spontaneous, instant reaction. And again, I don't, with the downtown question, we got parks, we got courthouse squares, we got all sorts of public places, but also the neighborhoods. When you go into neighborhoods and the disturbance that you're creating there, there's plenty of places to make your sentiments known. And I've been through this with LSA. The U.S. Supreme Court time and time again gives you time, place, and manner, can regulate marching and demonstrations, et cetera. And this is certainly compliant with that.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask him a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Senator Orr, would you be willing to a friendly amendment? Because again, the issue that is raised by my colleague, Senator Coleman, is that, okay, they may adopt more stringent. But what are the guidelines in here as far as noise level? It doesn't address that, does it reach a certain amount of decibels or what? It doesn't address that, but again.
You talks about amplification. So
right.
a bullhorn and all that right outside the front door, or, depending on how big your yard is.
But see, that's why it's kind of vague the way it is written. It's not specific. So you either allow the local governments to make that determination. Now, in Birmingham, we do have a noise ordinance. And so that may usurp what they already have. This may usurp because this is state law, which is not specific. I would like to work with you possibly on an amendment to come with it. I'm not necessarily opposed to your bill.
Yeah, I'd be glad to.
But I do think we need some clarification here because this is, okay, you can impose more stringent rules, but
they got to be constitutional. That's something I didn't want to preempt them.
I don't know what's constitutional based on just reading this. Well, it's kind of vague.
Yeah, we've been through it with Mr. Latham and others downstairs.
But I should be able to read this and understand it.
I can understand it.
Okay, well, you understand it because you got to get us all up here, but it's not on paper.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, ma'am.
I said last, because there is, on a positive note, I do like in the bill where prior to any arrests, and that's on line 67, for violation of the section that law enforcement asks people to leave first. That's a good point. I also could agree with you on the examples that you gave as far as elected officials or whomever, their personal home. Because like for me, I signed up to be an elected official, but my children did not. So I can understand where you may be trying to go there. But again, from Birmingham, the belly of the civil rights movement, and I love a protest myself. And so I'm just afraid that we might go too far when it's left up to interpretation about who actually determines what's intimidation. Just the fact that I'm there for some people, or a crowd is there for some people, that might be deemed, intimidating or harassing. But it's a peaceful protest, and so that's just my fear on it, Senator. I see where you're trying to go, and there's some pieces of it I could be with you on, but I just don't want us, especially right now, especially nationally, when some people feel as if our First Amendment rights are being infringed upon, just being able to say what we believe. I don't know if we should be doing that on a state level as well, especially in Alabama, here in this state, where I used to work with Mayor Richard Arrington, who was the first African-American mayor of the city of Birmingham. And he wrote a book. And the title of the book is actually called It's Hope for the World. And he said he got that title because he traveled abroad somewhere, and I feel like it was Denmark. And somebody had a sign and said that, if Birmingham, Alabama can elect a black mayor, there's hope for the world. Well, that election came along with protest. That's how they got there. And I just don't want us to go backwards. And so that's why I'm going to end up not supporting this piece of legislation today.
Clerk, call the long roll.
Senator Albritton. Senator Carnley. Senator Coleman.
No.
Senator Gudger. Senator Hatcher. Senator Hovey. Senator Kelly. Senator Coleman Madison.
I'm going to abstain. I want to work with the gentleman on some amendments to see if we can't make it better.
Senator Chambliss. Senator Elliott.
Aye. Bill receives a favorable report. Thank you, Senator Orr. Senator Allen, you have SB 249.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, thank you, and thank you, committee. I know it's been a lengthy meeting for you, but give you a brief overview of the bill. Under current law, the league, and municipalities, towns, cities can raise tax and fees and that sort of thing. And this bill would provide that an ordinance may not be considered for adoption until after a public hearing, and would require at least 30 days notice before the public hearing. So basically, that's the nutshell of the bill.
Sounds reasonable to me, Senator Allen. We have two people, three signed up to speak at a public hearing. First one's up, Ms. Rosemary Elevash. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, committees. This bill literally does not prevent a city or county or a city from raising taxes. It just says we're going to give a 30-day notice to the taxpayer that there's going to be a new tax or fee or an extenuation of a tax or fee. It's very helpful for small business owners because they've got time to plan. And the Alabama Secretary of State's website is going to be used free of charge to municipalities. They will use it through the open meetings law.
Thank you, Ms. Elevash. Mr. Allen from the Alabama League of Municipalities, if you could come up and tell us why in the world you're opposed to this.
Good afternoon. I'm Baker Allen, the Director of Governmental Affairs for the Alabama League of Municipalities. The League is opposed to Senate Bill 249. Municipalities already have a procedure for implementing taxes that they have to follow. Senate Bill 249 adds that additional procedure as a part of this, which results in increased cost through the issuing of notification through a newspaper. In short, these decisions should be made at the local level. If the municipality wants to make those decisions about notification and the amount of time, that is a decision that should be set at the local level. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. Deborah Miller, a proponent of the bill. Welcome.
Members members of the committee. I'm here representing the Alabama Restaurant and Hospitality Association as a small business, just like Mrs. Elabash said. We are the ones that are paying the taxes and the fees, and we just want some notice. We have supported your bill, Senator Elliott, your bill, Senator Chambliss, with the tax tribunal, and we stand ready to support Senator Allen's. Thank you.
Any other further questions for the sponsor?
I just have a comment, sir.
I have a motion by Senator.
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a second. Discussion?
Yeah, I have a discussion.
Yes, ma'am.
And Senator Allen, I kind of applaud you. I don't find many things out. But anyway, having served in local government, I think this is a good idea. I think citizens need to be aware of ordinances and things that are impending, and they would be impacted. Businesses in particular, because some of these ordinances about additional fees and things like that. My only question was, because we do not have Birmingham News, Montgomery Advertiser, and things like that, so we'll talk about what? Messenger? What's left? Statewide, or what's newspaper, line 69,
Right.
I'm looking at the wrong thing.
You got websites and there are
It says,
some,
but see, your bill speaks of a newspaper, of
weekly papers as well.
Okay, maybe there are some in other cities that have it, but I guess whatever they use to advertise, but maybe it needs to be on a website and things like that, I guess.
That's right.
All right. But I'm not opposed to your bill. I think it's a good idea. Anytime we can notify the public of what's going on, I'm for it.
Thank you, Senator.
Okay, thank you very much. I have a motion and a second. Clerk, call the long roll because we need a good one.
Senator Albritton. Senator Carnley. Senator Coleman. Senator Gudger. Senator Hatcher. Thank you. Senator Hovey. Senator Kelly. Senator Coleman Madison. Senator Chambliss. Senator Elliott.
Aye. Bill receives a favorable report. Thank you very much. I'm going to take up the pro tem's bill next, and I'm not going to delay the next committee meeting more than the previous committee delayed our start. That's going to be my rule. So, Miss Williams, I'm going to get you. Chrissy, are you here? Yep. Come on up real quick. I'm going to try to be as efficient as I can with this and get you to explain the changes because you're going to do that anyway and what's going on. So this is more of Senator Gudger's quest to help our friends in the massage therapy community.
Okay, so I'll be brief, and also, just so you know, Honor Ingalls is here.
We're going. Let's roll.
Okay. So the biggest thing is that this creates some common sense things. It streamlines our licensing, makes it more fluent. It helps us in the fingerprinting process, but it also creates a disciplinary process that the former administration told us wasn't available. And so this also gives the executive director, the current executive director, some authority to approve the licenses outside of a board meeting, which we've needed, but we couldn't under the former administration. This also addresses the law enforcement in local municipalities and other things to be able to report directly to the board with any complaints and things like that so that these issues can be handled. So overall, I'm very supportive of this bill. You guys know how vocal I've been about this industry, and I'm very, very supportive of what they're doing. And we're under a professional board now. So,
thank you, Ms. Williams. I have a motion by Senator Chambliss. The chair seconds. Any further discussion or question? Any opposition to using previous role? Okay, previous role, we're going to add one. Bill receives a favorable report. Thank you very much. One last bill, and I got 4 minutes left by my own rule, is turn the page. Senator Figures bill that deals with the University of South Alabama. Mr. Walkus, I see in the front, I don't see Senator Figures. Can you explain this real quick?
Yeah, real quick. Not adding any seats. 4 of our seats are based on 1963 senatorial districts. We're taking those 4 seats, making 3 United States at large, and turning one of them into, 4 state at large, 1 United States at large, and bringing us into compliance with the Open Meetings Act. Currently, our bylaws require a 10-day notice in the current open meeting law.
Senator Albritton moves favorable report. Second by Senator Chambliss. Any objection to using the previous role? Bill receives a favorable report. Thank you, Mr. Walkus. Thank you, Senator Figures, wherever you are. This concludes our County Municipal Government Committee meeting with 3 minutes.